We'll just wait for it. We're missing a couple. We're going to get them. Okay, let's go live if we can, please. Zoe, we are live. Brilliant. Okay, welcome everybody to the workshops for this afternoon. This is our long-term plan workshop, and we'll be canvassing a number of things this afternoon. So if I can please hand over to Melissa first, and we'll start off with the development contributions.
Awesome, thank you. So good morning, councillors. So again, just to recap where we're at in the process like we normally do. So today's workshop will be really focused on the performance measures and the fees and charges. So the workshop, the material or the feedback from today's workshop will either go to the council meeting on the 17th of December or the 28th, depending on what it is, but I'll talk you through that soon. So the purpose of today's workshop will be covering off the performance framework, the revenue and financing policy with a particular focus on the fees and charges. So we have workshopped the revenue and financing policy with you in the past or more recently. So this is kind of just to see how that flows on into the fees and charges. We'll be talking to you about the development contribution fees. So we have workshopped the policy with you. And then there'll be an opportunity, as usual at the end, to talk about the work program and the parking lot. Just with the way the meetings are today, we are actually going to split this workshop in half. So for this session that we're going to do now, we're just going to be focusing on the performance framework. We'll do the other items after finance and corporate later on this afternoon. So just wanted to set the expectations there. For the performance framework, this workshop will be going to the council meeting on the 28th of January. So that's when you'll next see that. I now hand over to George to talk through the details of this.
Right, thanks, Melissa. So just got the team with me. So Neil and Amy, who'll be able to hopefully answer any technical questions that we might have. So I just wanted to run through 3 or 4 slides of background information and then take questions. So you would have received a memo and also the level of service measures themselves in quite a lot of detail, both a clean version and a track change version, and also the community outcome measures as well. So this is some supporting documentation. So just in regard to the performance framework, so as part of the LTP, we are required to have a performance framework within the document. And really, the definition we've got up there is, well, some advice from Taitoara, which really says it's about determining objectives and measuring progress against those. And it's really about a continuous improvement approach. So are we delivering the services in a way that we've said that we're going to the community? And do we need to look at improvements in terms of how we do that? So the measures that we put within the LTP help to inform that. Just in regards to the work that's been completed to date, so we did do a review as part of the development of the 24-34 LTP, and so it's been considered a secondary matter or priority for the development of this LTP. But we have undertaken a further light touch over and above what you saw for the 24 LTP, just because we've had changes to the Capital Works program, changes to what data we have available across the organisation, and we've obviously had another year of historical performance information as well. So good, just you pass me the doodacky. Okay. So it's just some background, just some further context. So one of the really important things about measuring performance is that we have what we call the golden thread through the organisation. And so this is really just giving elected members an illustration of what our integrated performance framework is. And you'll see it starts off in terms of our vision right down to individual performance. And so we have a number of layers of performance measures that we look at across the organisation. And the idea is that they are linked and an individual can understand how they then contribute to the layers up the organisation right into how we contribute as individuals to the community outcomes. So that's just to give you some context. In terms of what we're talking about today, in regards to what performance layers are within the LTP, so the most significant, I guess, is around our levels of service measures, and they are legislatively required, and they tell us how we're performing against our service promises to our community. So they cover things like quality, timeliness, volume, etc. The other layer is our strategic priorities. So we don't do measures against them, but the most important thing is that we monitor how we're going through the delivery of projects that contribute directly to those external priorities. And then we go up a layer to our community outcomes where we're introducing what we're terming a wellbeing scorecard. So we have previously measured against our community outcomes, but we're trying to rationalise it. And just for awareness as well, over the next sort of leading into the next LTP, we do need to consider how Ahuaki and our anchor institution framework fit into how we measure our community outcomes and how they contribute to it. So this is a point of time until that work's been completed. The other thing I did want to note is that this doesn't stand on its own. There's obviously lots of monitoring that occurs across the organisation and against the LTP. And I guess the key one that I'd like to draw out there is around our key risk indicators. So they are directly monitoring the assumptions within the LTP. And you'll see those at the Finance and Corporate Committee and the Audit and Risk Committee. So they're the layers that we're talking about, predominantly 1 and 3 today. Just some principles. So we have applied some principles. So we take an organisation-wide view. We have to consider council's environment considerations, resourcing levels, etc. I've talked previously about the golden thread. We also need to strike a balance between enabling assessment of performance and feasibility to monitor. So it's that whole cost value kind of question. They need to be simple and easily understood by our community. And in terms of appropriateness, there's a few things we need to tick off. So we need to be able to be okay under audit scrutiny. So that's like evidential, easily tracked, objective, etc. We need to really be able to report on them annually to inform our performance. In some instances, we really do need longevity because often it's about the trends in performance that we're looking at. And again, I just say they're mindful of effort versus value.
If we just take a breath there,
Yeah.
Claire. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I'm happy with those. However, what about things that are within council's control? Like something that I'm always worried about is that we report on performance, but often council, the organisation itself, some of the measures, we don't have any control over it at all. So, I'd be looking for some kind of way of narrowing down measures that we at least, are able to pull levers on, or we're certainly not just at the mercy of, external forces, with some of these things.
Yep. So yes, agree. So I guess when we get to the level of service and community outcome measures, there is a lens that we've put over it. So in terms of if council really has no strong influence or direct control of the outcome, then I agree we shouldn't be including it at this point in time. So that can be a discussion if we get to any of those measures that you think don't follow that principle. Yeah. All right, and just obviously this is, as I've said, this is always a continuous improvement path as we get more data and we understand historical performance, and we try to get better at understanding what's important to our community and therefore what we should be measuring. So there's been some improvements that we have made in regard to this LTP, and we're moving towards more realistic targets. So historically, for example, building consents, we've aimed for 100% because that's our statutory requirement. But in reality, you know, even if we miss one or two, we don't meet it. So we're being more realistic in the targets that we've set. We've put in some ranges, and that's particularly pertinent around our resident perception survey results. So historically, we've gone, we want to be higher than the previous year, but that can actually lead to a degradation of performance and being a little bit not truthful as such in regard to our reporting. So that's been changed to a range. We've tried to rationalise our community outcome metrics to make them a little bit more meaningful. And then I just want to flag again that there's a lot of work that goes into this over time, and we do need to look at the integration with Ahuaki and our anchor institution in terms of how that all feeds up into our community outcomes over time. So that's it for the, I guess, the lead in, the background that I just wanted to give you. And you've got two key documents. One is the measures for the community outcomes, and one is the level of service measures. And we're happy to take questions or discuss those documents.
Excellent. Thank you, George. Right, questions on any of those? Claire?
Well, I'd just like to raise a question about environmental champions sort of measures. I think, I'm not sure what page it is actually, but I felt that it'd be really good to have something there that demonstrates council's commitment to maintaining or improving biodiversity. I think the ones that are there to do with water quality, which actually is a bit to my point earlier, George, about how much control do we actually have over that. Whereas, yeah, it looks like it's on page 185. Because I've been really impressed with the policy work that council has got in place about environmental benefit lots, which are really targeted at addressing those ecosystems which have been really degraded or depleted over time, particularly wetlands, and demonstrating how we are providing opportunities for landowners to do restoration on those things. And so I was going to put forward that as a possible measure, and to not necessarily say that we have a specific target, but just that over time those are increasing or something. I mean, I know you're wanting to get away from those, but it's just that, or even if you could say they increase by 5 a year or something, like we are actually consenting like large numbers like 10 and 20 at a time, which actually reflects the fantastic buy-in we've got to this approach from our farmers and landowners, which I think we should be really proud of actually. And it's an easy way, you know, to report it as well. There's two types. There's one for wetlands and one for actually, I think it's just environment, isn't it? I don't know. It's terrestrial. It's to do with planting, and it's, I can't remember the term. There's two types though, and whether or not that could be looked at as a measure, because I think it'll be easy to do. It is a valid measure, you know, like this is stuff that's being deliberately, like it's an intentional thing to improve. Yeah, so.
Yeah, so I appreciate that feedback, Claire, and we'll do some background research on that and come back to you. And if it's feasible, which I'm sure that it is, and meaningful, we will look to include it in the next iteration.
Marcus?
Yeah, just on that point as well, you've got the key measure of the quantity of recycled material per household, but if we're doing our jobs properly, shouldn't that be reducing anyway? Like, measuring recycled material on quantity is possibly not the right measure to use. I'm not sure, Claire.
I think just reflecting on the levels of service, and Neil can jump in here, we do actually have a reducing target. So I think the target is per the level of service, and that is reducing over time to take into account what you're saying, Marcus. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I agree as well, because we're wanting people to actually be avoiding those products in the first place. And I appreciate now that we're going to get a resource recovery centre opening. And so something we could work on in the future is maybe a measure of the amount of material that they are able to divert and the employment that they are able to generate through different ways of handling that stream of resources. Yeah, so I mean, but that's not become operational within this LTP, will it? Like we're looking at having it. I know that the subdivision was approved, so it looks like it's. I don't know when it'll actually start being operational.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the exact timing, Claire, but we can certainly look at that for the 27 LTP, and I'm sure associated with that initiative too, there will be benefits that are monitored.
Lou?
Yeah, thank you through your chair. Just looking through the principles for the performance and measurements, and we have the framework has a financial service delivery, capacity and capability implications. And I think we want to have the word resilience in there. We need to be a resilient, because you're looking at things like civil defence, etc. That is a very, very important measure to place into it. So just a thought, and I think that if we could include that, I think it'd be a much more positive.
Yeah, we can certainly include that in our principles, Councillor Brown, and just on that, in terms of our levels of service, we do have some specific emergency management measures within here, which are around training and the scores that we get through testing. Yeah.
All right, I think that's the questions for that. Do you guys want to carry on?
I'm done after that. If you've got no further questions, we'll come back on those couple of suggestions. And this will go up for approval on the 28th of January, and we'll kick in July in terms of monitoring, which you'll see coming through reporting.
Perfect, great. Thank you, team. Melissa, did we want to do anything else before lunch? Did you want to stop there, did you? Okay, all right. Look, we'll just break for lunch a little bit earlier, everybody, if that's all right. So we will come back, please, at 12:30. Roger, 12:30.
Oh, yeah.
No, we'll